resources, not even for the U.S., for the globalist. This is conquest and colonialism under the name of Peace Prize trendiness. So let's go to the latest Kony 12 hoax video produced by the Endowment for Democracy, the State Department, George Soros, and the usual suspects.
I ask you now to help us. We have this freedom inside our hearts. We have this freedom in our minds. And now I ask you to build this freedom in our country. You can help us only by telling this story to your friends, only by sharing this video.
I am Ukrainian.
Please share it. Speak to your friends, speak to your family, speak to your government, and show that you support us.
Please contact representatives to demand they support the Ukraine people in their fight for freedom and democracy. Of course, too late. And then you go follow the footer on it, and Paul Watson has this in his video and on the article. The guys actually go to that video on YouTube and show TV viewers now. Click on the footer of it, and it's Endowment for Democracy. And they're acting like it was made grassroots. Now, again, if the Ukrainians really want to overthrow their government, that's their issue. And I'd be supportive of it. But this is the globalists that want to overthrow it, to bring in their whole agenda of, you know, you see it here in America, to absolutely wreck that country. And they show images of police brutality in there, which I'm sure go on in every country and is wrong, to then get everybody mad to go out and attack the police and overthrow the government. And then Obama calls them peaceful protesters when they shoot police. That's peaceful. I've got quotes here of Obama yesterday. These are peaceful protesters. And here it is. Obama warns Ukraine against military action on protesters. I'm looking for the exact quote here. I was reading it in my stack this morning. Obama says, do not use force on peaceful protesters. Well, the problem is they're not peaceful protesters. And again, they are outside backed. And of course, there's always going to be multi-sides to every deal. I'm not saying this is a perfect black and white issue. All I know is it's a serious situation, and it's being orchestrated from the outside. Paul Joseph Watson, who has really broken this down and done deep research on it, where do you see this going, and break down how big this hoax is?
Well, good to be back, Alex. You mentioned a couple of minutes ago CNN. This video that you just played, which last night had about 1.5 million viewers, now it's got closer to 4 million. It's gone completely viral. The young lady in that video will appear tonight on CNN's Anderson Cooper, who, of course, was instrumental in pushing the Kony 2012 scam and the fake Syria Danny scam, which used fake staged footage from YouTube videos to push for US military intervention in Syria. So Cooper's done the same thing with Kony, did the same thing with Syria Danny. In both cases, we completely eviscerated him. Syria Danny disappeared off into the wilderness, never to be seen again. Kony, the director of Kony 2012, had a breakdown that collapsed. But they're still coming back with the same tactic. And all I did with this video, Alex, was, as you said, click on the homepage for the YouTube channel. And in that description, the makers of this video brag about how their inspiration was a guy called Larry Diamond. This is the guy they worked with to produce another documentary as well as this video. Diamond works closely with the National Endowment for Democracy, the NED, and the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. Now, the NED is widely acknowledged to basically be a CIA front. It's been embroiled in numerous color revolutions, fake faux uprisings since its inception in 1983. And in fact, it was involved in Ukraine in 2004 in that staged provocateur instigated uprising, which saw the US puppet Yushchenko come to power, who actually the current Ukrainian president replaced. So it's the same faces involved again. Diamond was also involved in the Arab Spring. He was actually the guy who trained the Arab Spring State Department activists back in 2008 how to use Twitter and Facebook in instigating these faux staged revolutions. So he's been the key point man, not only in places like South Africa, back 20 years ago, where he worked with George Soros's Open Society Institute to get in the kind of government that would acquiesce to Western IMF NATO interests back then after apartheid. He did it again in Ukraine in 2004. He did it again with the Arab Spring. And now he's the inspiration behind this supposedly grassroots video. And if you notice in the clip, this young lady she says, help us only by telling this story, only by sharing this video. So she's insistent that people believe this glib, simplistic propaganda and emotional manipulation, just as they did with the Coney 2012 scam. Because as you've talked about over the past week and more, the real agenda in Ukraine, the real story behind the crisis, is infinitely more complex than a bunch of people fighting for freedom and democracy.
Well, America loses its soft power and its good name doing immoral stuff like this, and the rest of the world knows. If the American people don't know all this is fake, on average, the rest of the world does, and I don't want it done in my name. And I know the world appreciates the fact that we're exposing this, but you get in your video that I saw you do last night for Infowars.com, and it's in your article, Paul, that's up on Infowars.com, that, again, the very same groups involved funding the Ukraine overthrow funded this video. Talk about that State Department-connected endowment for democracy.
Yeah, that's Larry Diamond. He was involved, as I said, in the 2004 uprising. He actually was a major apologist for Obama before Obama was even elected. Back in early 2008, he wrote a Huffington Post article downplaying all of Obama's scandals and corruption. Again, he's worked closely with George Soros, the Open Society Institute, who's one of the main protest groups in Ukraine, is openly funded and now it seems armed by the Open Society Institute. You have Bloomberg reporting that the protesters are now being bussed in and they jump off the bus with backpacks and weapons ready to go to battle. So even if you believe that this was an organic protest back in November when it started, it's been completely hijacked by these same globalist forces again. And another key point is obviously the Newland leaked phone conversation. She was caught on tape with a top US diplomat planning which puppet leaders they would put into power, primarily Vitaly Klitschko, who's the leader of the UDAR party opposition. So openly they've been caught on tape choosing which puppet leaders to put into power, and the media still treats this whole narrative as some kind of Russian conspiracy theory when the evidence of that is there. They've been caught admitting that this is the agenda behind the Ukrainian protests.
And Paul, expanding on that, again, there's beefs on both sides. We're not even trying to take sides. Under international law, common sense, common law, whoever starts something first generally is in the wrong. And if you're an outsider starting it, you're even more in the wrong. And it's not even America doing this. It's this globalist cabal doing it. And they tried to finance the Obama people, the Occupy Wall Street at first, to try to get a national movement going that they could control politically to destabilize the country. But when it didn't become partisan and they couldn't control it, it was the Obama Justice Department in 36 cities that ordered concerted mass roundups and attacks on Occupy. So they would like to do similar color revolutions here. In fact, Al Gore has said we need an Arab Spring here by the left. We've seen Soros say that. So what we're seeing them do in Ukraine and Syria is stuff they're going to try under race politics in the future here in North America. So this is very important to study and watch.
And, you know, with Obama calling them peaceful protesters, imagine if Tea Party insurrectionists, you know, with weapons and Molotov cocktails were storming government buildings in D.C., seizing control of police stations, shooting at police. Would Obama call them peaceful protesters? It's the same thing we saw in Syria. You know, it started as a peaceful protest and the media was still calling them peaceful demonstrators when they were driving around tanks and had, you know, rocket-propelled grenades.
That's right.
When
Stay
is this
there.
insanity going to stop?
Well said. I want to come back and see where you think this is going, the latest developments. By the way, I want to say something. The Tea Party is mainly the veterans. That's why the globalists say it's the #1 enemy. If the veterans try to attack the government, they will defeat the government in 1 hour.